right, guys, so let's go ahead and finish up. This is part 2 of the financial need to knows. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about buying and leasing. When we are buying, let's talk about what the money is doing, okay? When you are buying, it requires more money up front and each month. When you lease, it costs less up front and each month, and you can also afford a more expensive car. So in the perspective of buying a car, you can actually get a nicer car because you're not having to pay as much. But again, remember what we talked about before in this last video, was that you're not actually purchasing this in the end. So it is no more yours from the day you walk into that car to the time you drive it off the lot to 9 years from then. So make sure that you're understanding that. As far as your bills go, you can pay off your auto loan, which eliminates your monthly costs. So eventually you can pay off this car and it is yours. With a lease, you will always make car payments for the life of that car. And then when you go on to either lease another car, which you will buy, you will make more car payments, or you switch to buying. In which you will eventually be able to purchase that car. You will pay it off. In a lease as well, you will have the option a lot of times to go ahead and purchase the car at the end. However, you will be purchasing it for a very, very hefty sum. You have to understand that it is not, your money is not going toward things when you are leasing a car. So make sure that you're understanding the difference of them, so that when you're buying or leasing, you're understanding what's going to be yours at the end. The commitment in regards to buying, you have the freedom to sell or trade or buy it whenever you want. You can go ahead and decide, oh, okay, I want to trade this car in for a new one. It is yours. When you are leasing, you are under a lease contract, and it's difficult and expensive to break that. So you're tired of that car? Well, until that lease is up, you're going to be driving that car for quite some time. Okay? When buying, your car is going to cost less overall over time. Okay, so again, this is different than the money that you're going to pay for up front, because you're not going to continuously have to pay. When you are leasing, you do get a tax break if you can use the car for business purposes as well. So again, it depends on why are you buying or leasing the car, what is the purpose of having the car. Once you make those types of decisions, you can make the best choice for yourself. Also the time. If you are going to sell or continue to drive your car, or for example, you just want to keep it. You can keep it for 20 years and beyond. That car is yours until you decide to do something with it. With a lease, you're going to be upgrading or going to the next model every couple of years. So if you're a person that likes the best, newest and greatest car, and that is what is important to you, and you don't mind continuously making payments, leasing is more the option for you. If you are the kind of person that you are comfortable in a car, you like to save money, you're okay with driving the same car for a long period of time, buying a car would probably be best for you. You just have to figure out what it is, what's your reasoning for getting the car, so that you can make the best decision. Okay? Always keep in mind the car's value depreciates as soon as you drive it off the lot. So you may be purchasing a $40,000 car. When you drive it off that lot, guess what? It is maybe 3/4, if not less, than the value that you initially bought it for. With leasing, you will owe fees for any exceeding annual mileage limits and any damage to the car. So if you go over the allotted mileage that they say is okay, you're going to pay a fee at the end. If you damage the car, you're going to pay a fee at the end. So just understand that there's going to be pros and cons to every single thing that you do financially in life. So please, please, please make sure that you understand the differences. I initially started with some vocabulary about credit cards and debit cards. I really want to go ahead and get into this. Hopefully it won't be too overwhelming for you, so that we can kind of break this down so that you understand and you are cautious about using both. Okay. Many credit cards offer rewards from cash back to travel miles. You'll hear a lot of different commercials state that they are good for airline miles, or you can even get trips to Disney. That's going to be those credit cards. Those are going to be the perks of having those credit cards. Credit cards also offer protections such as legal fraud and warranty, different kinds of protection. So, for example, if someone steals your identity and goes to make purchases with your credit card, oftentimes you're not losing any money. Once you're able to report that, they're able to sort things out. Unfortunately, with a debit card, if that happens, that money is withdrawn directly from your bank account, so that money is gone immediately. So it's important to understand those differences. Debit cards have minimal to no fees. I know when I use my debit card, it is as good as using cash. There are no fees attached to my debit card, so it is the best choice for the majority of time when I'm making purchases. Remember, with a debit card, you are spending real money with your debit card, and it's directly drawn from your bank account, as we spoke previously about. Many credit cards offer coverages on rental cars, and credit cards can be used to build your credit. These are the perks. These are things that you want to understand are the good things about these things. We talked previously, though, if you do not have the money to pay off those credit cards in a timely manner, those credit cards can end up costing you a whole lot of money. Again, we'll talk more about that here in a second. Debit cards are accepted in most places, and no prior credit history is required to have a debit card. If you have a check that you get from your work and you have a certain amount of money in your account, they're not going to have to run any type of credit check on you. You are just using your own money because that is what you earned. So this in no way, your debit card in no way affects your credit score. You have to understand that, positively or negatively. So that's going to be important here in a second when we talk about FICO credit scores. Okay. Credit cards equal interest. Each credit card has a specific interest rate. This means that even if you make the minimum payment, you will owe the credit card company a percentage of the money that you still owe. So if you do not pay off that credit card when you purchase something, you are going to have an amount of interest unless it states in the contract that you have no interest for a certain amount of time. Using credit is necessary. You will need to prove you can make payments to eventually be able to pay for a mortgage or a car loan, but these should really be used with caution because over time it is going to, you're going to incur certain fees if you can't keep up with your payments. Okay? How does interest work? Interest works in two different ways. You can make interest work for you, and you can make interest work against you. So, interest is a payment in exchange for the use of money. It can be earned by lending your money to a bank, or you might pay interest when you borrow money from a bank. Okay, so interest that costs you money are things like credit cards, which we've already spoken about, student loans, auto loans, mortgages. Okay, when you are talking about interest, that is money that you are going to have to pay extra. Okay, now let's talk about money that works for you. Interest can be a good thing when it is working in your interest. Okay, so this is things like you have a saving account, you have other investments, you have a certificate of deposit. When you earn interest on money that you give over to the bank, that is going to be money that you collect. That's going to be good interest for you. So make sure that you understand that there's interest that can cost you money and interest that can actually earn you money in the long run. Okay. The U.S. revolving debt as of December 2011, and this was several years ago, was in the 800 billions. Okay, that means that our debt as Americans is only on the rise. That means that we are not able to pay off our credit cards. That means a lot of people are going to be filing for bankruptcy. Because overall, we are a nation that is in a great amount of debt. Just kind of understand that, keep that in the back of your brain. Not really much that you need to know about that other than make sure that you're not adding to that debt. Okay. I want you to understand that there are also two different kinds of interest. All right. So we're going to talk about the different kinds briefly. I don't want you to worry too much about the differences of both, other than which one would you want if you wanted it to work for you. Okay, there are two different kinds of interest. It's simple interest and compound interest. Compound interest works like this. You have $5, or you have $100. In year one, you get $5 back. Okay, so you have now $105. Okay, in year two, you get that $5 plus another $5. Great. It was 5% of what you got off that $100. Now you have $110. Okay? So over time, each year, you are just getting interest off of that initial $100. Okay? Compound interest works a little bit different. Okay? Compound interest, if you start with $100 and you add $5 the first year, you will have $105. Now, your interest is not only paid off of your $100, you then now earn off of the $105. So 5% off of 105 is is $5.25. That means that now in year two, you earn $110.25. That's a 25-cent increase. And although this doesn't seem a whole lot, when you are dealing with a great sum of money, you're going to need to know that you want that compound interest if it is the kind of interest that is working for you. Compound interest will give you more money in the end, as you can see it increasing over time in the graph right here. Okay? True cost of credit card purchase. 60% of your monthly payment becomes profit for the bank. For every $5 you spend, for every $5 you spend in as a payment, only $2 go towards paying back what you borrowed. This is because when you are actually paying off something, once you are paying your minimum payment, you are incurring interest, which you then are going to have to then pay back to the bank for using your credit card. Let's look at some examples, okay? The true cost of things. If I were going to buy a $500 plane ticket, okay, on a credit card, and I, in turn, had 15% interest on that, I actually, for that plane ticket that I could have gone in and paid $500 from my debit card, I could have just spent that money, $500, I now end up buying that plane ticket for $790. Wow. On a credit card, my payoff time was 6 years, 7 months, and I end up having to pay $290 more on that plane ticket than I initially would have if I would have just purchased with cash. On a television, say you have a $1,500 television with 17% interest. If I make those monthly payments, I end up paying an extra $1,128. Oh my gosh, that's almost double the amount of the TV if I would have just paid for it outright. If I would have saved up my money and paid $1,500 on a TV, I now have to pay $2,628 over 7 years and 4 months. That is crazy. Make sure that you're not getting caught in this cycle where you're having to continuously pay more for things in order to purchase them. That's where you need to make sure that you're budgeting. That's where you need to make sure you're using your debit card when appropriate. Okay? The national average interest rate is 14.91. Make your interest work for you. So if you have a $1,000 interest, after 10 years, if you leave that money alone at 5% interest, you're actually going to earn $629. So make sure that instead of constantly chasing your credit and having credit card debt, that you're actually finding ways that you can go ahead and make your interest work for you. That's what I want you to see. Putting your money away, budgeting, making sure that you have your money up front is going to be the best way for you to earn money and have money in the end. All right, that wraps up part 2 of this financial need to know video. I'm going to go ahead and extend to part 3. So you can go ahead and click off of this video and go ahead and continue on to part 3. Thank you so much for watching to this point.